Hey everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Justin, and this is Dad Discovers, where I'm learning about the world through YouTube. Today we're checking out a video titled The Pros and Cons of Living in the UK. So let's jump in and check it out.
Living in the UK, the pros and cons. There are always two sides to anything called coins. For that token, we can't realistically expect everything about living in the UK to be cool. There must be some dark side. That's why I want to discuss the pros and
I feel like
cons
that's
of
anywhere
living in
you
the
go.
UK in this video. Americans or anyone moving to London will not have a hard time noticing some of these pros and cons of living in the UK compared to the US or other countries. Yes, those differences manifest themselves in way of life, driving, transportation system, security, economy, and wealth management. However, you don't have to be an American before you notice these differences. Some of them are positive and remarkable, while some others are not so positive. Those negative differences are enough to scare people away from the United Kingdom.
I'm already skeptical just with what he's saying in their visuals, that this isn't really about the UK, but really more about London. But we'll see.
Nevertheless, some expats who are more objective only see these as mere differences in cultures and locality. Don't forget though, the United Kingdom is made up of 4 big countries with remarkable differences in certain features. Therefore, living in London will be different from living in Belfast, Edinburgh, and Cardiff. Yet these pros and cons of living in the United Kingdom are compiled broadly with common factors in all the countries making up the kingdom. Some of them may not apply in certain areas. Now, let's start with the pros. 1. Free and great healthcare. The most precious possession you could pay anything for,
or universal healthcare, because I've said free healthcare many times just as a default, looking at it from an American perspective, and I see it in the comments all the time where people say it's not free, and I get that, but from an American perspective, it almost feels free because you're paying for it with taxes, but it still feels free for an American.
is health. Did you know that caring for this is free in the United Kingdom? This is the first pro of living in the UK. If you want to have an idea of how great the UK healthcare service is, consider what obtains in London. It's a token of how health is being managed in the kingdom. The NHS is there to ensure that no one dies because of a lack of access to medical care. The system compulsorily takes care of your health by making it mandatory for everyone with the capacity to earn to be enrolled in the country's health program. Therefore, whenever there's a medical issue, there's always something in the system to care for it.
This is probably one of the biggest things that makes me mad about the US is health. Well, nowadays, there's an ever so growing list of things, but throughout my time, it's the healthcare system here. Like it doesn't feel humane the way we do it here. Like we might have some of the best stuff and some of the most state-of-the-art stuff, but if we don't let people use it without, pushing them into bankruptcy, what good is it? It's just not humane, I don't think.
It's an aberration for a legal resident in the UK to be denied the needed medical services. This is because healthcare is actually free. 2. Job opportunities. Another pro of living in the UK is the job opportunities available in the country. There's plenty of jobs in the UK, not only in London. According to recent data from the Office for National Statistics, the employment rate in the country is 75.3%, with a constant decrease of 0.4% every quarter. The United Kingdom is not among the countries where you'll cry about unemployment. That's why people are moving to the UK from all parts of the world to find work. Those who are seemingly jobless in the country have...
Now, this video was posted 4 years ago, so maybe a little different now, But I feel like this depends on what part of the UK you live in, just like the US. If you live in a big city, yeah, there's more jobs. But if you live in a small town out in the middle of nowhere, it's not going to be as easy to find work.
Issues with their employability or mental attitude. The English language is a very good reason why employment opportunities are abundant there. Another reason is that the UK is highly industrialised, and this always creates the need for skilled and semi-skilled workers. 3. Good education. Education in the UK is enviably good because of devolution. Each of the countries has different supervisory bodies for its school systems. While the UK government is in direct charge of education in England, the Scottish and Welsh governments are responsible for education in those schools. In Northern Ireland, the executive is responsible for school management. This enables the system to be tailored to the aptitude and intellectual upbringing of kids in each locality. What makes it so good is that education is compulsory through the length and breadth of the UK for children aged 4 or 5 to 16. The education system is divided into 4 main parts, namely primary, secondary, further education, and higher education.
I always get confused on this. Primary is like the younger kids. Secondary, is that your high school? Further education would be like college. And then higher is uni, right? Or am I like way off?
4. It's safe compared to many countries. A serious pro to living in the UK is the low crime rates. Compared to many countries, it's safe to live and do business in the UK. For instance, in 2020, the crime rate in the UK was 96.4 per 1,000 people. If this is broken down further, it's much lower in many areas. That figure was just an average while petty crimes are included. 5. Few environmental risks to life. While the UK is faced with some environmental issues, the risks that the environment poses to lives are so few. Air pollution and climate change have been linked and fingered as the major agents for environmental risks. Yet the UK can't be described as a polluted country. For instance, in the 2019 IQ Air's World's Most Polluted Countries report, the UK was ranked 21st least polluted country out of global countries. This is another pro of living in the UK. 6. Multicultural. Another pro of living in the UK is that you would be living in a multicultural society where you would have the opportunity of seeing firsthand the culture and ways of life of people from all over the world. By moving to the UK, you're likely going to
Especially
work,
in London,
live,
I would assume.
travel, commute, shop, worship, and socialise with people from all continents. You may even enter into a romantic relationship with someone you've never been to her country if ideal. In London alone, over 300 languages are spoken, and over 30% of the residents
It's
are born
crazy.
overseas or to migrant parents. 7. The police are marvellous. According to the data from the Crime Survey for England and Wales,
Now this police officer here, he must be like some kind of special unit or something, right? To have a firearm. Because I thought most like regular patrol officers didn't carry a firearm.
the CSEW, around 55% of residents rate their police force good or excellent. The confidence level in the police force is derived from this figure. This policing culture is almost the same throughout the UK, with similar characteristics,
Like
even
her,
though the
like
force has to
she has no
cope with
firearm.
tighter resources. And now to the cons. 1. Heavy drinking, drug-taking culture. Because there's plenty of drinks in the UK and due to the affordability, you
I only chuckled right there because heavy drinking and drugs, well, that's drugs are no joke. Some of my most popular videos on here for the UK are about pubs. But drug problems, I feel like that's a thing everywhere nowadays. Because even here, like, it doesn't matter if you go to a big city or a tiny town, it just seems like everybody's hooked on something now. Like, I'm from a very small town up in Ohio of about 1,800 people, and they're having a massive problem up there right now with like methamphetamines and like prescription drug abuse. It's sad. It's really sad.
You can easily find yourself on the wrong side of the law regulating drinking. While drinking alcohol is legal, driving when drunk can take special or selective definitions in the UK. Also, although the law appears to turn a blind eye to the personal use of some drugs, non-medical use of some of these may earn you severe sentences. The UK yearly loses £21 to alcohol-related issues, with 10.8 million adults in England alone drinking at a level that poses risk to their health.
Oh,
The drug situation is scarier. 2. Weather.
no. He says the drug situation's scarier, but then goes into no detail. Okay.
The weather is unstable. We've heard enough of this con. It's unpredictable in the UK, and you can't plan your next day or week based on any weather, which is guesswork at best.
But I thought the weather in the UK was kind of more predictable than that of a lot of the US. I mean, you guys get like a lot of rain, but you don't have like, well, at least I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong. You don't have like hurricanes and tornadoes and such, do you? And you don't have like the huge snowstorms, not typically. I know there's like the random once a decade, once a century storm that comes around, but just like an average, year. I think I had heard that you guys don't have those massive storms, fairly regularly.
3. Tiny and expensive apartment.
Yeah.
The UK is not a place where you'd normally expect to live in a semi-detached duplex or a palatial living room. The apartments are too tiny and the price tags are humongous. Sorry for you if you're used to sleeping in your 12 by the 12-inch bed. The doors too are small. The apartments there are tiny, and that's a great con. 4. The British are very cold. If you want to be positive, you would say that the English, Irish, Scots and Welsh are polite and are naturally reserved, especially those in England. What makes a con is that this has been taken too far, as each person makes efforts to avoid slighting another. The result of this is the mind-your-own-business attitude, which makes the British people too cold. It's so boring that neighbours don't care about each other's welfare. 5.
I feel like that could be a double-edged sword. Is if you're too cold, they say you don't care about each other, and then if you do too much, then you're in everybody's business.
Expensive and competitive rental market. The initial shock awaiting those newly arriving in the UK is the cost of rent. The rental market is expensive and competitive. Unfortunately, most people planning on moving to London can't beat this. You must navigate this expensive and competitive rental market. This is a con of living in the UK.
But if you leave London, I would assume it gets cheaper. Probably still expensive, but I would assume cheaper than London, right? Because I mean, if I move into Charlotte, it's very expensive for rent. Up in the town where I live now, it's still expensive, but not as expensive as Charlotte. But comparing it to 10 years ago, it's kind of crazy. Because I remember I had an apartment. It was just a one-bedroom apartment, like 12 years ago, and I was paying like $400 a month for rent. And now that same apartment would probably go for somewhere around 1,500, which that's a big jump in 12 years.
6. Food. There's plenty of food in the UK. In fact, cuisines from all parts of the world are here. However, the UK traditional foods are lacking in salt. For those used to eating salt either plentifully or moderately, this is a big con of living in London. The average person in the UK is believed to eat about 8.1 grams of salt a day.
I mean, yeah, if you're used to dousing your food in salt, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I know somebody that when they eat, they pour salt before they even taste their food. They just automatically start pouring salt down, which is, whatever, whatever your preference is. But over the years, we don't even use that much salt just because my wife has had a lot of kidney problems. She was on dialysis, she had transplants, so she has to regulate her sodium intake. But yeah, I've seen on quite a few videos on YouTube that talk about the food in UK, and half talk about how good the food is and half talk about, how bad the food is. I guess it's just kind of perspective, or there's going to be somebody that complains about everything. You can't please everybody. Plus, you guys have like some of the best Michelin star chefs, I believe. I mean, you have Gordon Ramsay. That should say something. But even just, regular old everyday foods, like I've seen the Sunday roast videos. They look delicious.
Due to product reformation by the food industry, this has even reduced a lot.
Plus, you don't have all the preservatives and stuff like we do, but that's a whole separate topic.
7. Too crowded. And finally, there are crowds in most places in the UK. You don't have enough space for yourself. You have to start queuing for everything. You must wait in line to catch the tube or bus, to shop in stores, to eat in restaurants, to club, to be served by cash machines, to enter escalators, and even at airports.
Again, I
The
feel like a lot of
UK is
that's
a place to
London.
queue.
Maybe I'm wrong, though. Let me know.
It's obvious from the foregoing that moving to the UK, like moving anywhere, has its positive and negative sides. I want to believe that expats, students, and other migrants will have a lot to seriously consider before finally making their decisions about living in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, that was interesting. That was fun. It was a little bit different from what I've seen in other videos, but I do feel like it weighed heavily. It did mention other parts of the UK, but I feel like it weighed heavily on London, or the perspective of London or a big city. But yeah, definitely let me know, because I know a lot of you have told me in the comments of other videos that you live in smaller towns or villages, and let me know how it is there compared to some of the things on this list. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, thank you for checking this out with me, and I hope to see you in the next one.